This time, it can be different. It has to.
Let's rank one of the most iconic video game franchises ever. This won't be as obvious as you think it is. Resident Evil 4 is not the king and crowning achievement of Resident Evil, nor is Resident Evil 6 as bad as people think. Ah, gotcha. Just kidding on that last part. It's way worse than what everybody thinks. Resident Evil 6, the back of our list, meaning this is the worst game in the entire franchise. The last of the action trilogy at its absolute worst. I try and tell you about the story, but all three of them are so bad it's not worth your time. Leon's being the only faint resemblance of a Resident Evil game, and it's not even that close. It's like they took every game from the series and threw it in a blender, and you get a new viral outbreak like in Resident Evil 1 and 2, a Nemesis ripoff like in Resident Evil 3, weird mutated creatures ad nauseum like Code Veronica, Resident Evil 4, and Resident Evil 5. Also, Boulder Punching Chris is back, clone like Ada, but not really. Even though Wesker is dead at this point, he still has a 20-something-year-old child clone, but not a clone. How many different storylines can we cram into this heaping pile of Jurassic poop? This game is so bad on so many levels. In fact, it's so bad on every level. I probably can't even squeeze out one nice thing to say about it, so I'm not even going to try. I got nothing left to say. This game is probably one of the worst games I've ever played in my entire life. Yes, so bad it is on that list. The next game of our bad games, essentially, is Resident Evil Revelations 2, the sequel to the surprise hit Revelations, but having nothing to do with it. I get that it's unrealistic to do a sequel to a game that is entirely placed on a large boat with another game on another large boat. No one would want that ever. But does it make sense to abandon the enemy types and all the characters from the first game entirely? Not so much. Literally, this game has nothing to do with the first game. This is like a Saw movie meets Silent Hill, with the main characters being Resident Evil's Claire and Barry. It does have some okay and tolerable moments. It does have more of a functional storyline. Not a good storyline, but functional. The controls are passable as they are similar to the first games. I can at least appreciate bringing Barry back, as his daughter is the other main character in it. I think it would have been better if we just had Jill reuniting with Barry again to continue developing the two characters, but Capcom doesn't develop characters unless they have no faces. I wouldn't recommend this game even with the slightly okay things I just mentioned. Again, it's a passable game, one you will not enjoy playing through though. Next on our fun list of greatness is Resident Evil 5. Bro. This is the broest game of them all. Buff Chris punching all the time. Sheva just face kicks anyone who messes with her. Capcom has traded action trope for any resemblance of what Resident Evil was. At least Resident Evil 4 sort of tried. These last three games that I've mentioned should all be in the trash, but the saving grace here is that even though this game is a complete flop for story, character, level design, storyline, partner, AI, enemy design, writing, and Wesker, even with all those and probably a bunch more, it was still sort of fun. Mildly fun if you actually played with someone else. That's right, this game has co-op, but at least with a friend or a random person, you can make this garbage of a game a good time. I think that's a huge part of why this game was ever successful to begin with. Since the controls for this game are sort of okay and co-op makes it decent to play through with somebody else, as long as you don't rely on the game's default AI, which will drive you insane. Whether that's because it's so bad it's good in a funny way or not, that is why it is ahead of the rest so far. But we're basically still at the back end here. Code Veronica, later to be known as Code Veronica X, originally developed to be Resident Evil 3 until Resident Evil 3 was last minute added in. Code Veronica continues the storyline of Claire searching for her brother Chris until she is captured and taken to an Umbrella-operated prison island. I think this game gets clouded by a lot of nostalgia. I thought because this game has zombies, a prison location which is interesting, Claire searching for Chris, that this would hold up pretty well. Not so much. Also, this is the first time since the original incident that Chris confronts Wesker. So many big concepts and interesting qualities, but that's about where it ends, because in spectacular Capcom fashion that we've grown accustomed to, nothing else holds up. The first huge issue is Steve. Sadly, this is no Stranger Things Steve. This is whiny, run away, doesn't ever help you,
Steve!
Creepy and cringe Steve. Steve, he is not okay. This is terrible writing. In that regards, the plot isn't much of an improvement. Check out my other video for a more in-depth history of the game, but the guy who runs the prison and castle on the island swaps between playing himself and his dead sister. You can't make this up.
He thinks he's two people? Okay, that's it. Let's get out of here.
But his sister is actually alive in a test tube chamber in Antarctica. When Chris finally arrives to rescue his sister, he fights a sandworm. That's right, a giant-ass sandworm. Then when actually encountering Wesker, Wesker now has superpowers and super agility. I haven't even mentioned the creation of stretchy arm monsters everywhere. This game is a hot mess. It uses the old tank controls, which a lot of people will also complain about, even though I don't mind them. I definitely think this is a game most people look back fondly on, but then replay it and either are blinded by nostalgia and forgive all the bad, or do finally realize how not great this game really is anymore. A final thought, it also might be one of the hardest Resident Evil games, not that that's an issue, but I attribute that more to poor game design than anything. The amount of backtracking and item finding is ridiculous. Find item A to place in B for item C to place where item A was, and it's taken to the most extreme in the entire Resident Evil series. You'll be doing this non-stop all the time. 1, 2, and 3 were cakewalks to the bullshit of item management you do in this game. It's confounded worse by the level layout as well. Absolute rubbish. The soft reboot of the franchise, Resident Evil 7. Literally, that's what it is, because it was meant to attract new gamers into the series. No previously used character from the franchise, which makes some sense, but for a gaming franchise, it makes no sense. This is game 7, and you want to introduce new characters as main protagonists? It makes sense if this were real life. Going through multiple once-in-a-lifetime events is ridiculous and statistically about zero. But now you've alienated every Resident Evil fan you've had in order to grab a new handful of gamers for the 7th game in a series. I'm also fully aware that Chris does indeed show up at the very end in a helicopter labeled Umbrella. If I slap Batman in at the end of Jurassic Park, is it now a Batman film? Chris had zero reason to really show up and be there, and the fact that he looks nothing like Chris is even worse. It really comes off as they didn't intend to put him in, and then last second, oh crap, we gotta make this Resident Evil, let's throw Chris in. Not only all of that, we've now moved into first-person shooter light territory. No more our third-person perspectives, it's all first-person, baby. Why I don't think of this as a Resident Evil game at all. It has so little to do with it in every possible way. The mold goop virus just adds to it even more. Capcom is the Michael Bay of gaming companies. It prints money no matter what the quality is. At least if I imagine this game as a Silent Hill game or something else entirely, it seems okay. And that's how I got through this monstrosity. Otherwise, I probably would have bailed. It sets up horror like you're playing through the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's literally the game for about half of it. Then you go to an organic shipping vessel then kill the end boss to see Chris's long-lost brother. We'll call him Jeff. Playing hide and seek with the Chainsaw family was okay. It's done decently for what it is. Setting is also isolated, so it feels a little bit like the original Resident Evil. Game is okay. Then I remember this was supposed to be a Resident Evil game, and then I hate it again. The sequel to the game we just discussed, Resident Evil Village, or Resident Evil 8. We return to the soft reboot with a return to the new character introduced in the last game, where we have yet to see his face. Never will, officially. This game borrows heavily from concepts used in Resident Evil 4, with an infected small village and castle. Then some bad third section of the game no one remembers. The only reason this game is ahead of the last, because it's actually a worse game narratively for large portions than tosses in a room with lore from the original Resident Evil to tie it together. That reason is it's more fun to go through the village and castle, and I'd add the flooded town, than it is to go through a house, oily boat, and some mines. There's a lot of intrigue surrounding Lady Dimitrescu and her 3 daughters, but the game completely squanders all of that and makes it meaningless pretty quickly. So instead of utilizing the interesting characters and concepts they've created for the game, they blunder it and give you more werewolves and Magneto time and throw in a Silent Hill house. Quite honestly, should have focused way more on the village and castle and omitted the others. Why this game is okay. Controls and perspective are also the same as the last game. Ironically, those controls are perfect. These ones are mediocre. Foreshadowing occurring. Village is a worse sequel that's more enjoyable. We are now officially entering the positive realm of Resident Evil. Now we are talking Resident Evil Revelations 1. Revelations 1 was the surprise game that no one really paid much mind to. Originally releasing only on the Nintendo 3DS, then eventually getting a port which was visually upgraded for PC. This game was kind of fun on the 3DS, not perfect by any means, but then after it got ported, they used the controls that are similar to that of Resident Evil 2 Remake. And you have a great control scheme that already won't hinder the game. I'd say the Achilles heel of all Resident Evil was for the longest time the controls, specifically the tank controls. I would also add in Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6's controls because they're never quite right, but they were good enough. This game is that, good enough. You play as Jill the first time since the end of Resident Evil 3. Chris is also in there, but he's not a focus. It's full Jill sandwich. You would think there wouldn't be a lot to the game entirely on a ship, but there's actually quite a bit of content. A good assortment of variety and design, not just metal corridors and bunkers and hallways. Never did I feel like I was on a ship that was small. The game was great in scale and design. Sure, there were still hallways and corridors, but that's kind of trademark stuff in design and the series. Also, there's a lot of open areas that don't make it feel so limited in just being on a ship. Revelations 1, in the end, is good stuff, and I would recommend it. There we go, our first recommendation. Besides the last game I just mentioned, this next game, Resident Evil 0, might be the most underappreciated game in the entire series. A full game of Rebecca. She gets a game of her own to shine, and shine she does. This is in the same vein of the original remake, but this time you get a buddy, Billy. Whoops, not that Billy. Now, at first glance, it seems like a co-op game because of that. No. You control both characters, sometimes just using one for a period of time. It's not as bad as it may sound, but item management can be annoying when you don't want to waste bullets, and the AI uses everything they have to kill zombies when they didn't need to. Also, the controls can be a bit wonky when controlling both parties. Pretty minor complaint when you actually play the game. You'll get over it. I did. The story was nice as it showed more of what occurred leading up to the original game, so you get a lot more backstory. You get a bit more of Wesker and see him setting up the STARS team to go be a guinea pig in the first game. You get backstory on Rebecca, and she develops a friendship with Billy. I'll say it's a bit of a bummer that we've never actually seen Billy again. Mind-boggling, but the game actually makes sense all the way through. Whoa. It is also a good game all the way through, and I absolutely love the intro train section of the game. That is just like peak Resident Evil goodness and great design. This is above Resident Evil Revelations 1 because the story is overall more coherent and in line with the original OG Resident Evil lore, which I do appreciate. So for this next entry on the list, I had to separate the original from the remake. They are not equals. Now, not all of that is a negative, but there's changes to some of the story and how Nemesis interacts within the game and how that's regulated to just being a set piece. It's so odd that this game had all the tools to be just as great or maybe even better than the remake 2, but they failed to deliver on most accounts. I think Capcom really undervalued Resident Evil 3 overall. Originally, Resident Evil 3 being meant as DLC and separating into its own feature game. Then this game started separated and ended up in feeling more like DLC or an expansion pack. Maybe that would have worked better if the initial price tag was $30 USD, but it wasn't. Priced equally to that of Resident Evil 2 Remake at release. I'd expect an equal level of content if that's the case. That's my biggest gripe. The game itself, the clock tower section from the original was discarded and just put as a background setting during one of the boss fights with Nemesis mid-game. Sure, I'd like to have it. I think personally expanding the city section should have been more of a priority. The original had much longer streets, more areas in the chaos to explore, and Nemesis could pursue you almost anywhere and everywhere. Just a tiny bit more negative, but before the good. If Capcom matched the fact that in Resident Evil Remake 2, you can go through the entire game as one of two characters, have altered cutscenes and slightly different sequences, the game would have been great just from that alone. Missing additional game modes and Capcom ditched it the second it released, another issue. Again, lessen the price tag, lessen expectations, a pinch. So Capcom is a lot to blame for messing this up on their own dumb accord. They did have a different team working on this than the one that made the original Resident Evil 2 remake. Okay, I get it. I take this one personally because Jill is my favorite Resident Evil character in the entire series, right with Ada, Rebecca, and Leon. The design of Jill was so good in this game, and I love how she comes off as a modern Ripley badass. She's not too girly, and she's tough as hell. I think they got her character down right, and this is where the shortness of the game bums me out a bit, as she doesn't get enough time to shine. I really don't want to wait for a Resident Evil 5 remake where they may maybe fix her character entirely in the game, not likely, or give her another game that's much longer, a chance to shine again. Overall, they mostly got the level set pieces right, and by that I mean they put the city there, the RPD police department, hospital. Carlos was playable at times. The Nemesis fights were mostly well done. It does feel like he never stops going after you until you put him down. That final boss fight with him where he kinda looks like the Alien Queen in Aliens was terrific. There's a lot of good stuff here, and of course the controls are the same perfection as the Resident Evil 2 remake, but they also added a dodgy swerve mechanic, even though half the time I ended up fumbling it and dodging into enemies instead. But it was a nice addition. Not necessary, but worked well for dodging rockets from Nemesis. Last thing before I move on, completely unnecessary to put in a weird hybrid parasite enemy to attempt to connect the game to Resident Evil 4 better. You can't fool me. You fucked up the series on your own. Leave your bullshit out, Capcom. Okay, so I guess that takes us to the next entry on the list, Resident Evil 4. So I was pretty close to slapping this game behind the previous game, Resident Evil 3 Remake, triggering a ton of Resident Evil fans in the process. If they are even still here after I basically pissed on Resident Evil 5 through 8. Longtime fans though, it's nice to have you. The reason Resident Evil 4 gets a 4 is because they essentially put the nail in the coffin to ruin this zombie franchise entirely and begin the ruination of the franchise from here on out. Now, Code Veronica is technically the first action of betrayal for the series, but Resident Evil 4 completed the journey to the dark side entirely. Parasites are the virus now, sure, infused with the T-virus to attempt to connect things, aka poor writing. Anyways, this game people are mostly blinded by because it was such a step forward in the industry as a whole to have third-person perspective in the way Resident Evil 4 did, that everyone at the time praised this game as a masterpiece because of it. The village section is for the most part well done. Then, when we arrive at the castle, it starts to crumble. Then, by the time we leave the castle for the military island, things fall off a cliff. Starting with the castle, there's literally a walking statue of the child-sized nobleman Salazar you have to run from. The layout of the castle makes barely any sense. It has a roller coaster transit system which is hilarious. It has rooms that have bottomless black pits constantly. It makes no sense. Now, some of that is attributed to hardware limitations, so hopefully the Resident Evil 4 remake fixes the hell out of the castle. Then, after leaving the island, the military base has a Donkey Kong minecart section. No joke. There is no character progression and development with Ada, even though she flirts again with Leon to manipulate him once again, and steal the virus once again, and then ditch him once again. So, once again, here's hoping the Resident Evil 4 remake fixes a ton. That early part of the game with Leon going through the village and finding Ashley is still really solid, even if I don't agree with the story elements at all. Escort missions were probably the worst thing next to the QuickTime events in gaming in the early 2000s. This game is annoying using both of them. Whenever Ashley is with you, you have to protect her. Then, on top of that, QuickTime events are so sporadic in this game, it'll go for stretches without using them entirely. Then, when you hit that knife fight with Krauser, it's like the game remembered, we gotta make up for it, and it doesn't stop. This game uses Leon very well, and it makes Leon the badass we mostly already knew he was from Resident Evil 2. The voice acting is spot on. I think the side characters and villains do well overall as well, and sound pretty good. The controls at the time were great. Now, they're wonky as hell and annoying. The fact it's such a pain to look up or down is infuriating compared to the Resident Evil 2 remake. So another thing the Resident Evil 4 remake is sure to address. I don't actually think I actually said that nice of things for this game. Still a pretty solid game, but not the greatest. I already discussed the Resident Evil 3 remake, so you know the gist of why Resident Evil 3 is good. The reason the original Resident Evil 3 is better is because it was everything 2 was, and included a non-stop terror who could break through walls, follow you around a majority of the game's map, varying in length of time. You could go through the entire game and encounter Nemesis for 5 minutes, or deal with him most of the game and everything in between. The replay value in that is huge. Every door or area entered is a question of will he be there. It was a nice development and changed the formula. A brighter city burning in flame is also a bit harder to make scary in the same vein as the dimly lit mansion. The game also had a good amount of length for initially being made more as a DLC and thrown a bit together last minute. It turned out to exceed all expectation. Had different puzzles to solve in it, and it felt familiar but a new spin on it as well. The remake in 3, you just shoot and move through in a few minutes. You also played as Carlos through the RPG section, not the case here, and it works better having Jill do it versus a random person. Really don't have many faults with this game, which leads us to the next game,
Resident Evil.
And Resident Evil Remake, where it all began until they made 0. Now, almost where it all began. But I guess technically still kind of where it all began because the lab that engineered the T-virus is underneath the mansion. Anyways, I'm mostly going to reference the remake version. It's the superior iteration in every way. even adds a bit more with the Lisa Trevor stuff as well to the game. The original is great, still fantastic level design, but I wouldn't say the cutscenes hold up well if you know what I mean. Back to the original remake. This game is terrifying. It epitomizes what Resident Evil is and should be. Small, tight corridors where the audio is usually more terrifying than anything, but then something shatters through a window. This game is horror. Not dumb, crazy family horror, but the creak of the wood flooring. The rain and ominous thunder outside, and lightning shining objects to look like enemies in the distance. This game is a visual spectacle. This is a perfect film that you get to play through. The only nitpicky things I can say is, as great as this game is, it really doesn't dive into any narrative at all, which, depending how your viewpoint of the game is, may not be a bad thing. Maybe you like that overall sense of mystery. The culprit behind this entire event, Wesker, is also limited to about 3 minutes of total screen time. It's really a survival story by yourself, isolated and alone. That's what makes it terrifying. You know there's people somewhere, but you struggle by yourself navigating your way out of this hellhole. If this were still the era of the GameCube, I'd say this was one of the best all time. But years later, I feel the controls in the Resident Evil 2 Remake and 3 are in fact superior in enjoyment and mechanically better for a gaming experience compared to the old tank controls used in this game. I don't think they're terrible by any means, but there's better alternatives in more modern games. Now, for what you've long been waiting for, the Resident Evil 2 Remake / Resident Evil 2. You waited so long to get here, but I have, sadly, the least to say. This game is near perfection. The controls are perfect for a Resident Evil game, the length is perfect, the amount of story and character development is spot on, the level design is superb, the fact that you can go through this game 4 times, 2 with different characters, and have different cutscenes, go through the game in different ways, experience entirely different things, and still connect to the same storyline. This is a game deserving of a spot on every best game of all time list. The reason I bundled this with the original is because I feel that way about both. The older version really comes down to, can you handle the old school tank control? If not, play this updated version. I also love the fact that you can play through with the original costumes, low-res characters, music, and audio for the OG game. Change outfits, unlock a ton of weapons, features, new game modes. AAA studios should reference this game setup for years to come. And fun fact, they absolutely are. See the Dead Space remake, or more obviously, the one coming next year in the Resident Evil 4 remake. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video on my ranking of all the Resident Evil mainline games in the series. Let me know down below in the comments what your list looks like. And thank you again for stopping by, and I'll see you next time on Hittobox.